Welcome to a new deep dive. Today we're jumping right into chapter 9 of Deuteronomy.
Yeah, a really fascinating chapter.
We've looked at the source material here,
Yeah.
and our goal is really to unpack the message about Israel getting ready to enter the Promised Land. And, well, right off the bat, the chapter's focus isn't quite what you might expect. It's not really about how good or ready they are.
Not at all. That's what's so striking. It starts with Moses basically saying, okay, listen up, Israel. You're about to cross the Jordan.
Right.
And he tells them they're going in to face nations greater and stronger than you with these large cities that have walls up to the sky.
Wow. So the text immediately paints this picture of a massive challenge. I mean, walls up to the sky, that's formidable.
Absolutely. And it even highlights a specific group, the Anakites.
Ah, yes.
Strong and tall, it says. Reminding them of that, saying who can stand up against the Anakites. It really amps up the sense of, well, human impossibility.
It seems designed to do that, doesn't it? Why emphasize the enemy's strength so much right at the start?
I think the text does that intentionally. It sets up the overwhelming odds to immediately pivot to where the real strength lies.
Okay.
Because right after describing the challenge, it gives the assurance. But be assured today that the Lord your God is the one who goes across ahead of you.
So the focus shifts immediately.
Exactly. And not just as a guide, but like a devouring fire.
Like a devouring fire. That's such a strong image. What does that imply about God's role here?
It implies complete and powerful action against the opposition. The text says, he will destroy them, he will subdue them before you.
So God does the heavy lifting, essentially.
That's the clear message.
Yeah.
And Israel's success, you will drive them out and annihilate them quickly, is presented as the direct result of God's prior action, fulfilling his promise, not their own military skill.
Okay, so they've got this seemingly unbeatable opposition, but also this divine power paving the way, guaranteeing the win. Now, this is where Deuteronomy 9 takes that really interesting turn you mentioned.
Yes, it immediately tackles the potential for pride. Well, the text warns them, almost anticipates their thoughts. It says, after the Lord your God has driven them out before you, do not say to yourself, the Lord has brought me here to take possession of this land because of my righteousness.
It cuts that thought off right away. Don't even think it's because you're good enough.
Exactly. It slams the door on that idea. And then it gives the actual reasons, according to the source.
Okay, what are those reasons?
Two main ones. First, it is on account of the wickedness of these nations that God is driving them out. So it's partly a judgment on the existing inhabitants.
Right, their wickedness. And the second?
The second is to accomplish what he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's about God's faithfulness to promises made generations ago.
Promises that weren't dependent on this current generation's behavior.
Precisely. And the text really hammers this home. It says again, it is not because of your righteousness or your integrity that you are going in. And then just to be crystal clear, understand then that it is not because of your righteousness that the Lord your God is giving you this good land.
It's almost repetitive the way it insists on this. Why is that denial of their merit so central here?
It seems absolutely crucial for the text message to prevent any misunderstanding, any sense of self-congratulation. And it immediately explains why they can't claim righteousness.
Like yes.
It gives that blunt assessment, for you are a stiff-necked people.
A stiff-necked people. That's not a flattering description, is it? What does that generally mean here?
It means stubborn, rebellious, resistant. Like an ox that won't bend its neck to the yoke. It's consistently negative.
And the text doesn't just drop that label, it connects it to their history, right?
Immediately. It commands them, remember this and never forget how you provoked the Lord your God to anger in the desert. It's like saying, let's review the evidence for this stiff-necked claim.
Don't sweep your past under the rug.
No, face it. And the time frame is sweeping. From the day you left Egypt until you arrived here, you have been rebellious against the Lord their entire journey. And then there's that even more staggering line. You have been rebellious against the Lord ever since I have known you.
Ever since I have known you. That suggests this isn't just about the wilderness wanderings. It's like fundamental to their character from the start of the relationship.
That's how it reads. Deeply ingrained. And to really drive this point home, the text focuses on one major incident, Horeb, Mount Sinai.
The golden calf incident.
Exactly. Right after the Ten Commandments, the covenant ceremony. Moses recounts being up the mountain, receiving the stone tablets.
40 days and nights, right. Getting the covenant details inscribed by the finger of God, it says.
Yes, this peak moment of divine revelation. And while he's up there, God tells him, go down at once because your people have become corrupt. They've turned away quickly. made a cast idol.
Quickly, the speed is emphasized again, so soon after hearing God's voice from the fire.
It's shocking. And God's assessment? I have seen this people. They are a stiff-necked people indeed. Their actions immediately validate the label.
And God's reaction in the text is severe.
Extremely. God basically says to Moses, leave me alone. Let me destroy them. Wipe them out. I'll start over with you.
Start over with Moses. That shows the depth of the anger provoked.
Absolutely. So Moses comes down the mountain, still ablaze with fire. He's holding the tablets.
The symbols of the covenant.
And he sees it, the calf. You had sinned, made for yourselves an idol, turned aside quickly. Again, that word quickly.
What does Moses do?
His reaction is visceral. He takes the tablets, the covenant itself, and throws them down, breaking them to pieces before your eyes.
A powerful symbolic act. The covenant is shattered by their actions.
Precisely. And then he deals with the idol itself. The text is graphic. He took that sinful thing, burned it, crushed it, ground it into fine dust, and threw the dust into the stream coming down the mountain.
Total obliteration of the idol.
Complete negation. But that's not the end of his response. Because of their sin and God's anger.
He has to intercede.
Right. The text says he fell prostrate before the Lord again. Another 40 days and 40 nights. No bread, no water.
A second 40-day period. Wow.
Yes, specifically because of all the sin you had committed. He says he was terrified of God's anger because God was angry enough with you to destroy you. He even mentions praying for Aaron, too, who was also implicated.
So, facing total destruction, Moses prays. What's the basis of his appeal? What arguments does he use?
He addresses God as sovereign Lord. He appeals first to their relationship. Don't destroy your people, your own inheritance, the ones you redeemed from Egypt with great power.
He reminds God of his own past actions on their behalf.
Yes, and he reminds God of the patriarchs. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, linking back to those foundational promises mentioned earlier.
Connecting the past promises to the present crisis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And interestingly, he doesn't excuse their behavior. He asks God to overlook the stubbornness of this people, their wickedness, and their sin. He acknowledges it, but asks God to look past it.
And then there's that almost strategic argument
Mm-hmm.
about reputation.
Right. He brings up the Egyptians. What will they say? They'll say God couldn't bring them into the land, or that he hated them and brought them out just to kill them in the desert.
An appeal to God's own honor among the nations.
Mm-hmm. And he finishes by reiterating, but they are your people, your inheritance, that you brought out by your great power.
And the text notes the outcome.
It simply says, the Lord listened to me that time also. The intercession worked. God relented from destroying them.
So Horeb is the big example, but the text makes sure we know it wasn't the only time, right? It lists other places.
Yeah, briefly but pointedly. At Taberah, at Massa, and at Kibroth Hattava, you continued to provoke the Lord.
Why mention those specifically?
Those are other known points of failure: complaining, testing God, craving food, leading to divine judgment. It reinforces the idea that rebellion wasn't a one-off. It was a pattern.
A consistent pattern, which includes the incident at Kadesh Barnea, too.
Right, where God said, go up and take possession. But they rebelled, did not trust him or obey him. That failure led to the 40 years of wandering for that generation.
So the text paints this picture. Consistent history of rebellion, stiff-necked character, lack of trust, provoking God, right up to this moment at the Jordan.
Yet, they are poised to enter and succeed.
Which brings us back to the main point. What does all this mean, according to Deuteronomy 9? This whole package, the impossible odds, the denial of their merit, the focus on others' wickedness and God's promises, their history of failure, Moses' intercession. What's the takeaway about how this success is framed?
Well, it makes it abundantly clear, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Success, entering this promised future, is emphatically not presented as being earned by the people themselves. It's not about their righteousness or performance at that moment.
It seems deliberately counterintuitive.
It is. The reasons given are external. The state of the current inhabitants and God's faithfulness to promises made long before, promises that hold despite the people's consistent failures.
Failures that, according to the text, brought them to the brink of destruction multiple times, only averted by Moses pleading their case and God sticking to his own prior commitment.
Exactly. You have this guaranteed outcome based on divine power and promise, alongside a people whose actions constantly seem to undermine their right to it. Their entry is secured by grace, by promise, by factors outside their own immediate merit.
So, summing up our deep dive into Deuteronomy 9, the text insists Israel isn't getting the land due to their own goodness. Far from it. They're described as stiff-necked and consistently rebellious.
Right. Provoking God's anger, with Moses' intercession playing a vital role in saving them. God's reasons for giving them the land are his faithfulness to the patriarchs and the wickedness of the nations already there. It's not earned reward.
Which really leaves you, the listener, with something to think about, drawn directly from this source material.
Yeah. If reaching a major promised goal is explicitly framed not on your own effort, your own inherent goodness, but on external factors like commitments made before you were even in the picture or the situation of others, what does that suggest to you about concepts like merit, effort, grace, and how significant achievements actually come about?